Hello and welcome to Gadget Guide USA. Thanks for watching my Mini 0806 dash camera with GPS capability product review. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to go ahead and rip it open here. As you can see, the first thing we see is the Mini 0806 dash cam. Let's go ahead and look at it. Seems to be well made. It looks like it has some angle capabilities there. We have some buttons. If we push this for 2 seconds, it turns on. If it detects vehicle power, like I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. And anytime you turn your vehicle on, this is actually set to automatically turn on. I have this plugged in, so it's, as soon as it detects the voltage here, see how it turns on automatically? That's so when you start your vehicle, it turns on, and when you turn your vehicle off, it turns off. So that's a little handy thing. Or it should have turned off, I guess. I didn't give it enough time. But let's go ahead and continue. As you can see, this plug right here, what this is the GPS unit. You can tell it's a GPS unit if you grab it, have some heft to it. A GPS unit should weigh about 18 or 20 grams, where a standard thing is just going to be plain plastic. I think it weighs 5 grams. But you could tell, if you grab it and it has any heft whatsoever, it's the GPS unit. So we're going to go ahead and turn it back off here and plug in the GPS unit. And now we're going to go ahead and turn it back on. Or I guess I could have just plugged it in and it would automatically turn on. Like I said, anytime it detects a voltage here, it will turn on, and anytime you turn your vehicle off and it no longer detects voltage there, it'll turn off. Everything seems to be well made. As you can see, this is where you mount your dash. It actually has some mounting hardware, and we'll get to that. But you mount it here and it goes there. And you can actually spin it here. So as you can see, not only will you be able to look at the road, you can kind of manually spin it to get the angle that you desire. It has some ports here. It looks like it has a plug-in port here. Let's go ahead and make sure that turns on okay, it'll turn on there if we plug it on there. It has an HDMI port, and this is a handy little port if you have a mini HDMI to large HDMI cable. As soon as you plug that in, this will automatically detect you plug in an HDMI. It will shut off this screen and it will send all video to the HDMI cord. So if you have a television in your car, or one of those in-unit dash cams with an HDMI port, that'll be a really handy feature. This 1.5-inch screen is nice. It does get you everything you want to do, but of course some things you just want to see on the TV screen. We're going to go ahead and scroll it here. We have the camera right there. That's a 4-megapixel camera. It shoots great video even in low light or night conditions. I was really impressed overall with the video quality. And it does 1280. Well, we'll get to that. And as you can see, I do like the spinning. It has 3 buttons here. The center button is your OK button, or your action button, whatever you want to call it. Anytime you're, like this is recording video right now, well, it would be if I had SD cards. Anytime you want to just take a still photo for whatever reason, just hold that down for 2 seconds. As you see, it kind of pauses, it makes a camcorder sound, and you'll take a still photo. It's not doing it now because I don't have any cards plugged in. But we'll go ahead and continue. To get to the settings, you just hold the up key for 2 seconds and it'll automatically go to the settings here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but we can scroll down. It has video resolution, video quality, exposure, white balance, and that's great for at night, because at night when you're filming at night, it does view about 40-45 yards where you can still read license plates. But if you have your brights on, there is a whiteout effect, and you can adjust some of that out using the exposure and the white balance. Flicker I've never used, even though you can adjust it. It's for other countries, I suppose. I've always just left it on automatic. You can rotate the image, so this is how you're supposed to mount it, but if you want to mount it upside down, you're more than welcome to mount it any way you want, and it does have the option right there to rotate it 180 degrees. LDWS is, I'm not sure what it's supposed to stand for, but it's lane detection. Okay, that's what it stands for, lane detection, and I'm not sure what WS means. But you can turn it on, and anytime it senses you going to the left or right, going outside the lane, it'll kind of give you a warning. I turn this off by default because it irritates me. Apparently I drive outside the lane too often. But if you want to, you can also calibrate it and see how it has these lines there. You can kind of calibrate what the line is. That's not really my thing. Like I said, I turned it off, but I know some people do use it. If you're one of those people that might fall asleep at the wheel, it might help you. But like I said, I'm not, so I don't use it. Motion detection is a feature I do actually use. This unit actually supports 2 128 gigabyte cards for a total of 256 gigabytes. That is an insane amount of storage. I only have 2 32 gigabyte cards, So I do use motion detection, and what motion detection is if it's not detecting motion, like let's say I'm parked and eating lunch or something and I sit there for 30 minutes and nothing actually moves, it'll stop filming after about a minute to save space. And I do use that option pretty often. It's a neat option. Boot sound, I guess you can change your boot sound. Parking guard. Now parking guard is an option I've never actually used myself. It requires you to buy a parking guard mount. And what the parking guard is that, let's say, you know how when you remove power, this thing automatically turns off. So when you remove the power and it automatically turns off, it's not recording anymore. But what the parking guard feature is that if somebody were to rear end you or somebody were to smash into your vehicle, it will automatically, using that G sensor, which of course I don't have, but if I did have the G sensor, it would detect it using the G sensor, and this would automatically turn on and start recording. And that's like to catch things that when you're not there. It's a really neat feature. It's a feature I really wish I had, and in the future I might buy the parking guard, but like I said, for now I don't have it. We'll go back to the options and thumb down through them and keep talking about them here. You can change the video quality, the photo quality. You can turn the power off delay, how long it takes to turn off, how long it takes to turn off the screen. And GPS stamping is something, of course, I have on because I have the GPS unit. But what that is it basically keeps track of where you're at. And if you have speed stamping on as well, and I do, it keeps track of where you're at, what speed you're going, and it correlates that with the video. So if I were ever to get into a collision or something like that were to happen, not only do I have an actual video of what occurred, I also have where exactly I was at, what direction I was heading, and how fast I was going. God forbid I ever get into a collision, but if I do, this thing is going to be a lifesaver for me. And you can actually program it to a driver number. If you want to, I'm the only one that drives my car, but let's say I have my wife drive my car, you could actually have her put in a separate driver number and keep traffic of it separately. Not something I use, but it's something everyone else uses, I guess, or everyone might use. Date stamping, time stamping, I think that's pretty self-explanatory in languages. Just so you know, it goes in English. I think that's Russian. Looks like English, and whatever that is, I'm going to assume that's some type of Russian, but I'm not really sure. Not a language I know. So, and then you can go to choose card. Like I said, it has an A slot and a B slot that both support up to 128 gigabytes. So you can choose just to use one card. I'm not sure of any time in which I would do that, but it is there. And of course, you can always check your firmware version right there. That is the unupdated firmware. Overall, it seems to be a pretty solid unit. The buttons feel okay. You don't have to push them too hard or anything, so you can go through all the options you want. And overall, like I said, the video was good. The audio quality was acceptable. It wasn't as good as the video quality, but we'll get to that when I go to my very end, where I'm going to start doing pros and cons, and we're going to go through that. Let's go ahead and go through the goodie bags. As you can see, the instruction manual, we'll step through that. This is a cigarette lighter adapter. As you can see, it has a really long cord. It's important that you have a really long cord because you remember you're going to have to plug this in, and this needs power pretty much all the time to run. It does have a 200 milliamp Henry battery, which will run for a few minutes, but not near enough to catch all your driving time. So you'll notice this is a really long cord. If you want to know exactly how long, check the end of my video, and I'll have all more specific specifications and everything that I've tested, and that's at the end of the video. More goodies here. I'm going to go ahead and dump those out, and this is going to be all your mounting hardware and things like that. This is your data transfer cable. This should look familiar. It's just your standard micro USB cable, and this is what I use to pull all my video off of there. If you plug it in, it will if you plug this into the unit and plug this into your PC, it will automatically be detected as a hard drive, and you can pull the videos right off. Pretty standard for cameras these days. It has your screws, and we'll actually get to why we need that. And what these are cord clips. These are to kind of like clean it up so the cord, of course, isn't hanging nasty in your car. I don't use those, but of course a lot of people would. Now we're going to go ahead and grab these mounts. These are important. As you can see, I have quite a few of these pads. I've already mounted in a couple vehicles, so it came with quite a few extra pads as well. Just be sure to clean your windshield really well before you mount it. Of course, we like the fact that it gives us multiple pads so we can change them or if they break. Now what these are, these may just look like standard mounting blocks, but they're not. I already showed you the screws. They're somewhere in that pile over there. But using, okay, these screws right here are actually made to change the angle of this mount. Of course, it'd be nice if it was straight up and down, but since our windshields are actually angled, your windshield's going to be angled slightly like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take either one or both. One is 2 degree, one is 4 degree. Together they're 6 degree. And you can actually add both of these and put those screws in, and it will change the angle. Since our dash, or since our windshield's angled like that, we don't want to actually film the sky while we're driving. We want to film the road. So in order to set that up, you need to kind of angle it there, and then you screw those screws onto there, and then use the adhesive pad to mount it. And that's to make sure that we watch the road and not the sky. Pretty self-explanatory, but I figured I'd toss that out there. It comes with a microfiber cloth, of course, to clean the camera. One of the things I do, if you notice when I'm holding it here, I kind of put my finger right on the camera. That's not a good, that is not a good practice at all. You should never actually touch the camera. So try to hold it like this when you push the buttons. But luckily they have a microfiber cloth. Not a big deal, but it's in there. Now we're going to go over the instruction manual. The instruction manual was very straightforward, very easy to read. The pictures are very good. I mean, you can definitely understand everything they're trying to communicate. It was written by somebody that obviously has a good command of the English language, so of course we like that. Of course, some of the things that were reviewed didn't have such a straightforward instruction manual, but this is great. It tells you how to turn off the camera, how to prepare it, how to record a video, how to take a photo, playback on the camera, which I think I've already showed you. If you just hold this button down for 2 seconds, it will automatically take you to a video playback mode. And if you hold it down for another 2 seconds, it'll take you to the photo viewer so you can view any photos. And you hold it down for another 2 seconds, it goes back to the stock video application. It tells you how to play back on the TV, which is just plug in the cord. It connects to a car DVD or navigator. I've never actually done that, so I'm not going to go into that, but it is possible. How to set up the camera. Video resolution. The maximum 2560 by 1080 at 30 frames per second. That is amazing video quality. I was shocked at how great a video is. To be honest, my memory cards are kind of small, so I downgraded it to 1280 by 720 at 30 frames per second, and I still got great video. So the 2560 by 1080 will take amazingly high quality video. I will admit that the sound, you know, if I'm gonna give the video straight up an A+, I'm gonna give the sound a C. It's not that the sound was bad, but compared to the awesome video quality, the sound was just meh. You know, but it does sound, and you know, I have no horrible complaints. It's just not in the same league as the video quality. The photo resolution can be anywhere between 4 megapixel up to 13 megapixel. I haven't taken too many photos, but you know, you can. There's the exposure and the white balance, and those are important. One of the problems I had with the camera was whiteout. Not necessarily to this camera, but to all cameras. Whenever you're filming at night and it has a good night vision, any really bright lights kind of cause a washout. For example, if I had my brights on and there's a large white van parked in front of me, it kind of gets a bad whiteout. I admit I didn't try to do the exposure and the white balance like I should have to get rid of it. It wasn't a huge problem, but it was something worth mentioning. Flicker. The loop recording is one of the features I really liked. I only have two 32 gigabyte cards for my camera. So basically I run out of space sometimes after, you know, a few days of recording. So what it does, you can choose, say, 1 minute or 4 minute or 3 minute segments, and it goes back to the beginning. It goes back to your oldest videos and automatically deletes those and re-records videos. If any of you have a DVR at home, it pretty much works the same way. It'll start erasing your oldest stuff in order to record new stuff. I think that's a handy feature. That makes it kind of the camera set it and forget it. Once I attach it to my dash and plug everything in, I kind of forget it even exists until I want to pull up a video. You know, I just let it erase all the older videos. I never have any issues. It's something I really like, the fact that I can just put it up there and then forget about it and not have a lot of maintenance. This talks about the parking guard. I believe I already talked about the parking guard feature. And what that is if somebody hits you and even though the power is off, it'll activate the emergency battery on here. It's not a large battery, but it's good enough. And it'll start recording immediately, so it can actually capture something that happened after the collision or after you were ended. And it actually has a sensor here. So you plug in the G sensor, which you buy separately and I don't have, but you can actually change the sensitivity from 2 Gs to 4.5 Gs. So if it's just a little bump, you can kind of set it so it'll turn it off. I do, of course, like those features. Screen off, power off delay, I believe we went over that. The GPS stamping and the speed stamping is something I definitely want to talk about. The fact is when you go into court over a collision, having video is great, but saying, hey, I have GPS stamps, I was doing exactly 35 miles an hour, and I have all these data banks to prove it, of course that's going to be handy, especially if you have a collision. Date stamping, time stamping, I have all that on. I don't know why you would turn it off, but you can. So we basically went over the options. So now's the end. At the end of the day, this isn't the highest video quality dash cam you can buy, but I do believe it has the most value. For the price that I paid, this is well worth double. And in order to get higher video quality than what this camera offers, you're going to have to pay over double what I paid for this camera. So at the end of the day, this camera is getting an A+ for value. It's definitely getting an A for features. It gets a B for night driving. I can read it. I can read signs and license plates at about 40 or 45 yards at night on a not very well lit toll road. So I thought that was really impressive. One of the major problems you're going to want to check before you install it is this connection right here. You can see right now that it's very smooth, but when I actually bought this and got it out of the box, these things, once you attach them together, they were attached so well. As you can see, it automatically shut off without power. These were attached so well that, I mean, I was jerking on it. I would have had to break it. I would have had to break my adhesive if I had it attached. So when you get it home, just be sure to do some test runs before you install it on your dash. Make sure that this connects and reconnects nicely, and then double check your angles before you install. You do need to have the angle perfect, or you need to have the angle close, not perfect, in order to get good camera. Be sure that you have these, be sure you have these installed if you need them, and make sure that this slides nice. That was really tight until I slid it for about 35 or 40 good times, and then now, as you can see, it's perfect. It's not coming out. It's very solid. So at the end of the day, the pros and cons of this, the pros are definitely the swivel angles. The video quality is fantastic at 2560 by 10 whatever, so the video quality is great. The sound quality, while not the greatest, is definitely acceptable. The mounting is good. This is actually a great product. As far as a value, I'm going to give it an A+. Overall, a great dash cam. Definitely something I recommend. I hope you enjoyed my product review today. Comments are always welcome at the bottom of the page. Subscriptions are always appreciated, thank you. And if you have any specific questions, comments, or suggestions, please email me at gadgetguideusa@gmail.com. Thank you for your time.